This morning's guest will spark your interest about lymphedema. Meet Laura Flint, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Villa Romana Italian restaurant, the Italian restaurant of the year, between 7th and 8th Avenue South on Kings Highway in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on lymphedema, and we're visiting with the local physical therapist, Laura Flint. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in early on a Thursday morning.
I know. We're going to need
you brought a lot
coffee,
of props. That's right. Hopefully Claudio or Ronaldo. What about this Villa Romana? This is a great place. Have you been here before?
Oh, many times.
Yeah,
it's exemplary.
It is exemplary.
It's exemplary. Ottimo, like they say in Italian.
Ultimo. I don't think I can get that out. And I understand you're friends with the owners.
Yes. And
Fran
you too?
and Ronaldo, and I love Fran and Ronaldo.
God, yes,
yeah.
God, yes, they're fabulous. It's a family affair.
A family-owned restaurant, a family affair, very popular. Of course, Claudio Montrose was with us yesterday here, right here in the restaurant, 7 a.m.
Wow.
He was sitting here. It was very interesting.
We're taking our turns, are we?
That's right, yes. It's the week. We've got a special week on Tuesday. A young woman who taught English in Japan for 3 years, was in Japan for 3 years, was with us. We kicked off the week promoting gastronomy with Crystal Hummer of the March of Dimes. The area director of the March of Dimes was promoting the Taste of Town, which was this past Monday evening, you know. And then, of course, tomorrow, Catherine Levinas from the American Art Association will be with us. So it's great to get you in here on a Thursday morning. Of course, all these great props. You've got a lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot to explain, I guess.
On lymphedema.
On lymphedema. People don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. Lymphedema occurs in someone's body when lymphatic fluid backs up.
When
lymphatic fluid backs up. And when lymphatic fluid backs up, it becomes an unrelenting swelling that needs to be managed and controlled, probably for the rest of the patient's life. So our program is set up so that the patient can ultimately become independent in dealing with their lymphedema.
Is lymphatic fluid all through my body?
Yes, you can take a look at this.
Here, let me hold that up. Sure.
This chart
I can see kind of through that.
If you imagine your body and you imagine your heart beating and all of your vessels, your arteries and veins, you know, you're pumping blood through that system. And if you take a big old Spider-Man coat and put it on top of that system, you see this system here that's being illustrated. And it's the lymphatic system. It's our sludge system. It's the system that takes out the big molecules and dumps it into the intestine so that we can evacuate it as human beings.
Right.
These lymphatic node clusters, some in the neck, of course, some in the armpits, and a lot in the groin and inguinal area, are where all these channels of fluid kind of go to and ultimately exit the body. This is an absolutely essential system for our immune systems.
For our immune system.
Yes, we must be able to excrete, must we not? As humans, we must be able to take food in and get rid of garbage, basically.
Right.
And this is our sludge system. And if it's backed up, it's critical. If, for example, this area here, say on a lady who's probably had a mastectomy or something, which is a very common diagnosis we deal with, if these lymph node clusters are damaged or somehow injured or not there for whatever reason, this arm will blow up. And if it's not controlled, it'll become red and hot, become what we call cellulitic, or she will have cellulitis, and it will become a medical emergency. And
how long does it take to get big, or for instance?
That's a very good question, to get big. What we have found out, in the old days, they used to think that every time someone had an insult to a lymphatic cluster, that they may or may not get lymphedema. But what we have found with certain studies is that if the lymphatic clusters are challenged or injured at all, there's always some percentage of lymphedema. Now, if you had 5% of lymphedema in your arm, it probably wouldn't bother you. You wouldn't notice it, you know. But if it was 85%, you certainly would notice it.
You said it would be warm and...
Yes, it gets warm and hot when it gets critical. Some people can go and the arm can blow up, and it can be unrelenting swelling, or the leg can have unrelenting swelling, and it doesn't get warm and hot right off the bat, but it can down the road, and that's what we want to prevent.
How many folks in the area are impacted by lymphedema?
A large number of people in my practice are people who have gone through the unbelievable diagnosis of cancer. And have gone through radiation, and have gone through axillary resection, for example, damage to the lymph nodes. Some of my patients are patients that have primary lymphedema, which they're born with. I actually could have lived 25 years in this business and not seen a primary case. But here in Myrtle Beach, a little guy walked in, 10 years old, and he had a swollen leg. And we were controlling his little swollen leg, with his compression stocking.
Right.
He got made fun of at school because he had a compression stocking. So his father, instead of his mother, came in one day to talk about how we were going to manage to get him to always wear his compression stocking. And we ended up putting his SpongeBob SquarePants on his stocking. It became cool. And then he wore it. But guess what? The father walked in with him, and the father had the same left leg swelling.
No.
And so did the grandfather. Had the
come
same
on.
left leg swelling. So it can be something that's inherited because you are born with a deficient lymphatic system, or it could be an injury to the lymphatic system. And fundamentally, when poor people go through cancer treatments in this country, and they have to do invasive surgeries or radiation, quite often lymphedema is a secondary effect of all of that. Many of my patients are mastectomy victims. As a matter of fact, they're so courageous that you know about the Dragon Ladies, don't you? They're doing that boat with Georgetown Hospital. They're going to be rowing to increase awareness of breast cancer and
Good for them. That's critical.
We
want to talk a little more about you, Laura, but for viewers who may need to get off to work now or get family off to school, what's a good way to reach you, either visiting your website, I believe specialtyphysicaltherapy.com. Do you all have a phone number?
My phone number is 843-651-7513.
Okay, 843-651-7513. Okay.
Quite often people go through a cancerous problem or go through an injury, and lymphedema manifests 18 years later. One of my patients had a mastectomy 18 years ago. She went down in Florida to visit her children, her grandchildren, ended up throwing a ball to her grandson, and that one precipitating event was the thing that overwhelmed the arm, and it blew up and gave her a problem. So lymphedema can kind of strike. The body will try to keep the balance, try to keep it together, and then something will happen that it'll be so compromised it'll go over the edge. So everybody says, oh, well, I came out of that cancer thing and that radiation, I'm unscathed. Well, I think that people have to be aware and be made aware that they still have to protect that quadrant of the body, and be very gentle with it. Also, we've had patients, for example, that have had snake bites that come in, and for some reason the venom manages to get into the lymphatic, and lymphedema ensues.
I was saying some of the shots that you provided or showed early this morning before we began filming looked indicative or looked like a snake bite to me, or the swelling that has occurred. My daughter's had a lot of severe ant bites at points in her life and have caused a lot of swelling. Fire ants down here at kids' parties at school or otherwise.
Spider bites.
Right.
That whole thing is incredible swelling. We have found, though, with our regimen that we're doing down here in Murrells Inlet, that with certain vascular surgeons in the area that notice that their patients have combo cases, which are vascular edema, meaning swelling from the circulation, from arteries and veins, or heart problems, that combine and become an overshoot or become overwhelmed and go into the lymphatic system, so that the patient ends up having a vascular lymphatic combo case. We find that our regimen does very well in those patients as well.
Really good.
So at least I think we can offer this kind of service to more diagnostic groups as we go along.
Great. Real quick about yourself, Laura. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm from Washington, D.C.
Oh, good. Okay. And you've been down here how long?
South of Mason-Dixon line.
South, barely. Yeah, barely.
Yes, I've been down here since 2000.
Okay. Were you in D.C. all that time prior?
No, I was raised in Italy.
Ooh, in Italy. So you know a little about Italian food.
Well,
do these guys know how to do it right?
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
They sure do.
They do. Good.
They're very quintessentially Roman. Yes.
Yes, they are.
It's a wonderful,
even
wonderful
France.
cuisine.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But
so you grew up, or excuse me, you said you didn't grow up in Italy.
Yeah, I was in kindergarten, first and second grade in Italy, and then in Germany. and then we came home because of my father's work.
Right. Key years of your life. Yeah.
Yes, and key language producing years, which was kind of cool. So it sticks with me, but then again, if I go for too long, I kind of lose it, and then I come in here, speak to Claudio and Ronaldo, and I get it back.
Yeah, that is great. Well, it was thrilling to have Ronaldo open up the show this morning. Of course, to have Claudio with us yesterday, and so much has to happen at the same time during your short tenure in Horry County, now right over 7 years. You've also been very active in Theater of the Republic. I'm going to hold this up. I'm not sure if viewers can catch that. Some glimpses of you of different performances you've been in.
Well, everybody kind of has to have their golf game around here, don't they?
That's right.
This is kind of my golf game.
This is your golf game. Yeah. Theater of the Republic there in downtown Conway has really been a tremendous venue for getting out your creative juices, it looks
Absolutely.
like.
Absolutely. And I've been a board member, and it's just a wonderful, it's a gem. In the Grand Strand. It really is.
I hate to say it, it looks like Diane Devon Stokes has been dropped in on a few of these pictures. Are you sure
Diane
is not
so
right there?
We served on the board
together.
Looks
like Diane there. Trying to see.
We kind of do look like sisters, don't we? We're Irish.
There's another Diane shot. I think that's the one. That really does look like her.
You think? Oh, well, I can't wait to throw that at her.
At least through the back end here. Yeah. I'm going to have to tell her that.
Poor Diane.
Yeah, that's right. She's not watching now. She's getting ready for her own show. But, of course, we've got some, and I'm so glad you brought some pieces in. I want to make sure we take the time because, as you said before we started filming, the pictures really speak 1,000 words.
Yes, and it's kind of hard to verbally explain this without pictorials. People don't seem to understand. If you look at this picture here, this shows what lymphedema does typically. You will have a swelling. Like if my hand were to swell and simply be bigger than the other hand, that's one thing. But if my hand then starts to lose its shape because of the swelling, like these ankles have, you see the swelling is coming kind of like over the ankles. That is a very, very typical sign of lymphedema.
And this is all internal, or there's nothing I could do. For instance, if I'm wearing tight socks, it's not going to cause any problems here.
Well, what we literally do in our regimen is provide compression garments for the patients, which I guess, you're kind of deducing the right thing here in the sense that we need to have proper gradient support, custom-made garments for these patients so that they can control the lymphedema, the swelling with external pressure. The body at this point, after it's gotten to this point, simply needs the external pressure, and these individuals must learn how to manage their life with the special garments. And it's really right now because of what they've come up with. You see, feel this. It's a very thin polymer.
Oh, wow, it sure is.
And I can get clinically about 50 millimeters of mercury pressure from that thin material.
And these different colors or colors that folks can wear?
Thank God we finally got some different colors because it helps, especially with the female population, with compliance. Right. If somebody doesn't want to wear their garment and doesn't wear it, and then the thing gets out of control, it doesn't help me with clinical compliance.
Sure.
So if I can deal with the cosmetic aspects or the cosmesis of it, then I think all of us are in better shape.
That's a big word for 7 a.m. here.
Yeah, please. Give me another cup of coffee.
That's right. That's right. And that is very important, not only for women, but for men.
For men, too, because men typically order the beige or the brown or the blue for their suits and things. They hide it under their pants. Nobody knows.
Absolutely. My own socks that are real tight, and if I had lymphedema, that could potentially be helpful.
Right. Well, if you do a lot of air travel, you would want to have about 15 millimeters of mercury on your knee-high compression socks, especially if you do a lot of it. Not 50 certainly, but at least 15, because all of us get off the plane and have to walk around the airport to kind of, and that's one of the risk factors for lymphedema patients in the modern world. They have to really watch because in a pressurized cabin, it can cause them to swell.
Again, if folks need to get off to work now, specialtyphysicaltherapy.com or 843-651-7513.